Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning into Agent on Duty. I'm your host, Stacey Prieur, and joined with me today is my special guest, Sean Cowan. Hey Sean, how's it going?
Good, Stacey. How are you doing?
Pretty darn good, can't complain. So Sean, the reason why I wanted to ask you on is not just because we've known each other since 1995, but also because you and I have had very parallel careers in our tenure of adulting. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you do because you do cover different areas than I
Yeah,
do.
definitely.
And so what areas have you started off covering and where are you now?
I'm in Burlington right now. So basically, I cover west of Toronto proper. So Burlington, Hamilton, Waterdown, and then with the pricing, everybody keeps going a little bit more west. So a little bit of Niagara, but generally Hamilton, Burlington, Waterdown are my three main areas.
With London agents, we typically see a lot of people going London proper and then St. Thomas and then St.
Right.
Mary's and Lucan and some of the surrounding areas. But with the way the market has been going, I'm glad that you said that. Why do you feel that there has been this great migration?
It's always been the case. Like the Toronto people who can't afford $1 million in Toronto go to Mississauga, go to Oakville, go to Burlington. Burlington people go to Hamilton. Hamilton people go to Grimsby. Grimsby go to St. Catharines. St. Catharines go to Niagara. It's always a half an hour further. You drive until you can afford.
People keep getting priced out of their markets, so they keep going into these smaller towns. And
Right.
that's one of the ways that they're solving the issue of being priced out of what they want.
100%. They drive till they can afford it, or they just want a bigger place, or they want not a shoebox in the city. They want land. There's a bunch of reasons why the market keeps getting like larger and larger and spread out, spread out.
So, Sean, you've been in real estate for quite some time, from investing in your first property. And this is really why I wanted to tap into your knowledge and your area of genius because, yes, you did end up getting your real estate license, but you always had an interest in real estate from a young age. How old were you when you purchased your first property?
I bought a pre-construction downtown Toronto. I was a reporter in London, actually, at the TV station in just outside of London. I was the bureau reporter for London. And I remember going to downtown Toronto when I was 23 years old, and there was a pre-construction office. I'm like, what's this? Walked inside. You can buy it now, and you have a 10-day cooling off period. So I'm like, okay, it was only $1,000 to put down. I ended up buying a one-bedroom place downtown Toronto for $180,000.
And when we say downtown Toronto, this was off of Yonge and Carlton, was it not?
Right at Yonge and Carlton. You're
Yeah.
good memory, Stace.
Yeah.
Right across from Maple Leaf Gardens. I
Yeah.
saw a tower. It was shiny. It was a pre-construction office. I'm like, well, I will either want to live in the city, work in the city, or I can rent it out because it wasn't going to be ready for 2 years. So it was a no-brainer. Okay, well, the market's going to go up. I can either flip it, rent it out, or maybe I'll end up working there and I'll have a place to live.
Which I mean is amazing. And now I'm almost, I hate saying this, but I bet you're kind of kicking your butt that you sold it.
Well, every time you sell a property, no matter if you bought it 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or 2 months ago, people always kick themselves for selling it. The same place now is probably 600,000.
Mm-hmm.
The one bedroom plus den, 550 square feet, right in the core. But I assigned it and I made good money off of it. So at the time, it was really good.
You went to school here. You were in London. You did was it Fanshawe that you?
Fanshawe, television broadcasting.
Yeah, so you were here and then you did migrate to Toronto. So assignments aren't something that it's really common here. Can you let our viewers know a little bit about assignments? Because there are some new condos coming that are being built in downtown London. So this would be great information.
So assignment sale. So if you buy pre-construction, you're basically buying the paperwork and a floor plan saying that here's the price of a condo, let's say 350, 400,000, and then you move in 2 years. And then you're buying the paperwork, you're buying, I don't want to say the right, but you're buying occupancy in 2 years from now. Then in 2 years, you close on it, you get your mortgage, you pay the land transfer tax, you pay the closing costs, and the additional deposit or down payment, whatever is set up with the builder. You usually have a time in there that you can assign the paper to somebody else for easy purposes. Let's say I bought the condo for 100,000. And in 6 months from now, I change my mind and I want to sell it to somebody else for 150,000. I sell them the paperwork for 150,000, I just made 50,000 doing nothing.
And you didn't have to do any moving. All you had to do is close on it, and that was it.
Yeah, you didn't have to close on it because it's not ready for a couple of years from now. You just sell them the paperwork that you say you get to close on it when the building is occupied.
Amazing. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, I want to tap a little bit more into that just for some further clarification. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back after the break. Hey guys, welcome back. You're tuning into Agent on Duty with myself, your host, and my special guest today, Sean Cowan. So we were just talking a little bit about the real estate market, and we were getting into assignments, which isn't a common thing here in London, Ontario, but it's very common in Toronto. We do have a lot of pre-construction condos going up in London, so I wanted to pick Sean's brain on that. Now, with assignment clauses, you've done this a couple times, correct?
Yes, I have. So an assignment sale is basically you're assigning the property that you bought to somebody else before it closes. So whether it's a townhouse, a house, or typically a condo, you go to the sales center saying, hey, you're going to be ready in 1 year, 2 years. You buy the paperwork, you buy the floor plan, you put down a deposit, and it's usually spread out, usually 1,000 on signing, maybe 5,000 in 10 days, 5,000 in 30 days, depending. It could be all over the map, but it's usually about 20% down over the course of a year or so. And then if you don't want to close on that property, you can actually sell your paperwork to somebody else. That's called an assignment.
It's easier than flipping because you don't have to actually do any of the manual labor aside
100%.
from
Yeah, you don't have to close on it and pay the land transfer tax, the closing costs, the lawyer's fees. Mind you, there's going to be a small lawyer fee for selling the paperwork. There is sometimes more of a risk to it because you're taking a gamble that the market is going to go up. Mind you, you're doing that with flipping too.
Well, exactly. So hypothetically speaking, you put down today, you find something, you go into a construction office, you put down a deposit on pre-construction, and then a year from now, when you know all the property values have risen at least 50 to 80K, you could technically take that money out and assign it to someone else. But so the deposits that you put on, you're not going to lose them, right? The other person's going to pay that back. Right?
Yeah, the other person basically pays that. That's part of the whole paperwork and fee that you're selling. Like I've already put down 50,000. Here's the purchase price that I paid. Here's the price I'm selling it to you for, and then the original buyer gets the profits.
It's another opportunity for people to make money if you have some cash sitting around, or if you have some equity in a home that you want to refinance and reinvest your money. It is a nice way to make money. Granted, the market has been on a steady climb. If there is stagnation, this is something that you might not really want to consider. Yeah.
Probably the market, like condo market in London, would just have to take off, I would imagine, just because people are retiring or first-time buyers that can work from home. Like your starting point in the GTA is for one-bedroom condo is 600,000, like starting and going up. So you keep going farther and farther apart. So there's room for growth.
Absolutely. So since you've started, how have you seen markets shift, and what do you like and dislike about it?
Market shift. Well, we had the recession in 2008 with the American recession. We saw a little bit of spillover that here. What I've noticed since I bought my first place when I was 23 years old and been an agent for 10 years is it kind of goes like this in Canada. It goes really, really fast and then levels off, and then really, really fast and levels off. I haven't seen in my lifetime a bubble.
No.
When I bought my first place, 23 years old, there's going to be a bubble. I hear, but whenever the market is on fire, I always hear rumors of people that aren't in the market, a bubble, because maybe they're hoping for a bubble.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen because like the GTHA is still a world-class place for people to live. A lot of people are moving here from all over the world. So I think there's still room to grow.
Absolutely. So not to put you on the spot, but when you did buy your first place, it was 2003. So that was right before the big crash in 2008. And then you were licensed in 2011.
Yeah.
So in your lifetime of real estate, we'll say, we won't do any quick math on that.
Right.
You have not seen a devaluing of property. Because that is when people see this bubble crashing, they think that properties are going to devalue and that they're going to go down by like 100K and oh my God, there's going to be mass pandemonium. The only place I have ever seen that was Detroit. And I don't know if you recall this, but they were devaluing the properties on purpose because the city wanted to actually buy them up.
And like the
Before,
places in Florida in 2008 during the recession
yeah.
too, that you could buy a condo on the water in Naples for $40,000, and now they're 700,000.
So, and that's one of the things that I do want to talk about because a lot of people, they watch HGTV, they watch the news, they think that the instability of the markets in the States is going to be parallel to ours, and it's really not.
It's
There
not.
has not been anything like that in our last 20 years, right? And even agents that have been in selling in London for 50 years, they've never seen a big, massive devalue. It's always been a steady increase. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to talk about how old do you think people should be when they start investing and what they should prepare themselves for. Okay, guys, stay tuned. We will be right back after this break. Hey guys, thank you for coming back or just tuning in. If you are watching Agent on Duty with myself, Stacey Prieur, your host, and my guest today, Sean Cowan. Sean's first investment was when he was 23 years old. Now, how old do you think a person should be when they start thinking about real estate? Because I'll be honest, at 23 years old, I was thinking about partying in Mexico.
Right. I don't know. I remember my parents telling me when I was growing up in River Canard, they told me how much they bought their place on Rankin, downtown Windsor for. I'm like, oh, 20,000. Now it's worth 80,000. So I'm like, oh, it went up, and it just keeps going up. So it kind of I think it just got me interested. Okay, so the real estate market just keeps doing this. So why wouldn't you just keep investing? So that kind of got me interested in it. I think as soon as people can afford a down payment, a deposit, and you can afford your monthly payments, get into the market. Whether you're 20 years old and you want to buy a $200,000 old condo or little house on the way outskirts in Ontario, just get in the market because your money won't give you a reward anywhere else like it will in real estate.
Yeah, you just need to get in the game. And that's one of the things that I think is so important. Like people, they want to move into this turnkey, big, beautiful home, but you need to get in the game to grow. And again, I joke around about Monopoly because it is actually one of my favorite games, which is really ironic as a real estate agent. But you got to start off with those purple properties and just get one of those houses on there. And then you can work your way up to hotels on Boardwalk.
Definitely.
So
Yeah,
you just got to
the
get in
equity
the
from
game
your house.
somewhere, right?
It's still like if you can work from home, there are opportunities in Ontario and southern Ontario, St. Catharines, the outskirts of Essex County, Midwestern Ontario. If you're okay to be within a 2-hour drive of a major hub, you can still get a place for under 300,000. It's not a turnkey, granite countertop, dark hardwood floor place, but you're getting into the real estate market.
I'm secretly wondering, like, on a side note, when we remember when you first started selling real estate and you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is totally built in the 90s. Oh my gosh, this is totally built in like like
Right,
walk in and you see like dusty rows or you see like the yellow walls.
right.
So my biggest thing is I'm wondering when we're 60 if we're gonna go into these houses, we're gonna be like, ah, another sliding barn door,
Oh
God,
no, or like another white kitchen.
right?
But they've
Oh
been
my
white kitchens now for like 10 years. 20
right?
years maybe. Yeah.
So very true. Thank you, IKEA, for starting that trend. Who do you think has taught you everything that you know about real estate? Because I know you've been, like I said, you've been in a few different areas. You've invested in a few different areas. You've lived in a few different areas. Where do you think the bulk of your real estate knowledge has come from?
Probably working as a real estate agent and buying my first place when I was 23 years old. I had to learn about a mortgage, an interest rate, a deposit, just getting into it. Land transfer tax, what's the lawyer cost? What's a real estate agent cost before I was a realtor? So I think on my own, like, yeah, just doing it and getting into it. But then having worked in real estate, I worked on really big teams. I had a lot of great coworkers. So as far as real estate, learning from everybody, but I think break it down. It's just getting into it and trial by error.
So funny because obviously there's those of us that do and those of us that watch. So one of the biggest trends right now is obviously HGTV with the Love It or Listed, the flip phone, like,
Right.
and then now Netflix was selling Sunset.
Love
So
that show.
I wanted to talk Selling Sunset with you because everybody thinks that now this is what real estate agent life is like, and I can assure you, I do not have open houses with live animals at them.
They don't, but that's a different. I don't actually. There's a couple people we went to high school with that trade in real estate down in LA.
Yeah.
But it's like so. Yeah, selling Sunset, they sell like $10 to $30 million properties. It's a little different than my $1,500,000 place, but they're also making a TV show, right? If it was a
Right,
half an hour
of
show
course.
of this, hello, do you want to buy a house? Nobody would watch. So they glam it up a little bit with smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of chat with you about too, because being from the entertainment side and also the real estate side, it's one of those things where I think that realistic expectations um, are where things come into play, right? What has been the most realistic show that you've watched? And you also used to have a show too, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a little investing show on Global. Yeah, it was not even worth talking about. It was
Okay,
not. But I think the most, you know what? I think Love It or List It, like Vancouver, because that's the only Canadian one they have out there. It's pretty realistic. Like they renovate their house and they go actually and show properties with the budget, right? That's
yeah.
kind of what the agent, like he's an actual agent that works out there full time and he does the show on the side. So I think that's a realistic show. Like I think they 100% exaggerate how much damage there is to the house when they're renovating it. Oh my God, we have to do this. It's going to cost an extra 5,000 because it's a show, right?
Yeah.
But as far as like looking at properties, making offers, and how much can people afford, that's pretty realistic.
And one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about is you used to love doing open houses, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When I say love, I say that sarcastically. But what do you miss most about doing them and the way the market's been? Because they used to, like, there was a huge value to having open houses.
Right. It was when the market wasn't so competitive and people didn't have to put an offer that night on a house because it was going to be gone the next day. It
Yeah.
was a way to market the house for the seller. But I missed chatting with people who are from out of town, and you can educate them on the neighborhood, how much this house might go for, what's being developed in the neighborhood, and just striking up a conversation with them and informing them about the area.
So I used to do a few different things with my open houses. Sometimes I would do the virtual live open house even before COVID kind of hit. And Sean and I both used to do singing open houses.
Oh, right.
Like there's one open house that I did, and it was a cottage on the lake, and they had a grand piano, and then they had the Little Mermaid the musical. So I actually did the look at this stuff, isn't it neat? But Sean, you do stuff like that too, right? Just to get more eyeballs on the property. What are some marketing tactics that you find are useful as a real estate agent to get more people to view? I love your guess what this price is, or
Yeah.
like that kind
I
of
guess
stuff.
with social media, what I do is I always put, guess what this price is. And then if I'm showing people a unique property, I'll say, take a look at this backyard.
Yeah.
People wanted land, they got land. Everybody's commenting, oh, wow, look at that land. That's great. And then you're telling people you're a real estate agent too. So you're marketing without actually saying, hey, want to buy a house? So yeah, I think people like to see what homes sold for, what areas are like, taking pictures of weird things that you find in houses or outside houses is more legal.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, showing people front yards, backyards, saying guess the price of this, or these people just bought this place in St. Catharines from Toronto, and then it goes on. It strikes up a conversation online.
In your surrounding area, where do you find hot spots are right now to purchase?
Hamilton is on fire. I think it's Hamilton is the busiest real estate market in all of Canada. It grew 40% year over year, which is, I think, the fastest growing. I think London's not far behind because for the GTHA, you could still buy a property downtown for 500,000 last year. That same house is now 600,000. So as far as affordability, an hour drive to Toronto, downtown Hamilton was on fire this year.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you said that because the average home price, I think going back to 2015, 2016, used to be $350K for a 3-bedroom, 2-story. And now those ones are going for $600K in our market as well.
And that's why people keep driving, right?
Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about what we think the market's going to look like next year. Stay tuned. All right, guys, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Agent on Duty with myself, your host. And if you're just coming back, we've been talking with Sean Cowan today about assignment clauses, investing in real estate, what it's like being a real estate agent, and where to invest in the GTHA area. Okay, Sean, so I want to kind of pick your brain. We were talking earlier about the housing bubble. I don't actually think it's a bubble at all. I think it's a migration pattern. And one of the things that everybody keeps saying is that it's going to burst, it's going to burst. I don't see that. I think what's going to happen, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was a migratory period with, because we took in a lot of different people from different areas. And then we saw a huge migration with baby boomers moving out of those bigger cities and moving and filtering down into more retirement properties. Now, what we are seeing is prices rise in Toronto, then rise in Hamilton, then rise in Kitchener-Cambridge, then rise in London, then rise in Windsor. And what I'm starting to see is there's a capping out. So like right now, homes aren't jumping in the millions in Toronto. They're jumping in like hundreds intervals, right? So like the 500K instead of like a million.
Right.
And then same here, like in London, it's 200K or 150K.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think is going to happen is next year, there's a lot of stop builds this year. So I think that there's going to be an abundance of builders that are going to have product available, because what they're doing is they're stopping taking custom builds and they're just building to spec. So I think there's going to be more inventory available next year, which I think will then also kind of help level out the seller's market. Meaning there will be a little bit more inventory. And I think that what's going to happen is there's going to be capping in all these different towns. So we're going to not see the high hikes, and it's just going to grow at a steady rate. What do you think?
If we're not locked in our houses for a year, people aren't, because the only thing people could do for the last year was buy and sell houses. So new legal things you can do. So I think a lot of it was psychology too. I'm locked in my house. I want to go somewhere. Let's go buy a place with land. People could work from home. So if people next year are allowed to travel and are going back to the office, even part-time, there's not going to be such a demand for houses. And I want to buy, I want big land. People, I think, so I don't think it's going to go up as much as it did. It might balance out because we're going to be doing other things, hopefully.
Yeah, fingers crossed for a balanced market. I think that would be great for everybody who's looking to purchase or even buy and sell right now. That's been our hope. So Sean, if anyone is looking to purchase or invest in your market, where can they reach you?
Probably best thing to Google me, Sean Cowan, and you can see my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook page. That's about it.
What's your email address? Is Sean William
Cowan@gmail.com. My full name, SEAN, William Cowan @gmail.com.
Thank you. Because I did try and Google you and I couldn't find your email. So I just wanted to make sure that it was there. Well, thanks again, Sean, so much for being on the show. I'm so glad that we got to catch up one-on-one. We did have you in one of the previous years with the other guys. So it's great. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And to you, the viewers, thank you as always for watching. We will see you next time.